It's Thursday, August 19th, and this is now on HNN. Hawaii reports 752 new COVID cases and 4 more deaths. A complete breakdown is coming up.
We had information and evidence of what was in the bed of his truck. At this point, we think that's safe.
A man claiming to have a bomb near the U.S. Capitol is now in police custody. The developing details just ahead.
A morning cup of joe is getting more expensive for many Americans. I'm Michael George, and I'll tell you why coffee prices are on the rise.
These stories, plus Linda has been downgraded to a tropical storm. Could conditions still impact our weather? We have the details coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon. Thanks for watching This Is Now. We got some important developments to get to right now. An hours-long standoff at the U.S. Capitol ends peacefully.
A man who claimed to have a bomb in his truck near the Library of Congress surrendered and is now in police custody. The whole ordeal prompted evacuations and road closures. Our D.C. reporter, Kristen Casper, has been following the story, and she joins us live near the scene. Kristen, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Jonathan and Ashley, we do have a few new updates from the Capitol Police. They say that possible bomb-making materials were found inside of the suspect's vehicle, but no active bomb. Of course, again, that information coming from Capitol Police. They have also deemed the area safe and have opened up Constitution Avenue behind me, and they have just taken away the police presence at this intersection that I am at right now. Now, all this unfolding at 9:15 in the morning. That's when police heard the disturbance call. When they got there, Floyd Ray Roseberry of North Carolina drove onto the sidewalk of the Library of Congress. He's told officers that he had a bomb, and that prompted the evacuations and road closures. Negotiations continued on throughout the afternoon. Authorities say that they approached the suspect with a whiteboard and robots to get in contact with him. And after communicating with the law enforcement, that's when police say he exited the vehicle. Take a listen.
Actually, Kristen, we do not have that soundbite.
No, it's not there. One thing to note.
Go ahead.
Gotcha. Sorry. Well, I'll recap what the police said. He said one thing to note, that it is recessed here on Capitol Hill, meaning many government officials are not in town. Of course, 2 Library of Congress buildings and another House office building has been evacuated, but they have since been allowed to re-enter into that building. Again, to recap, police say they did find bomb-making materials inside of that vehicle, but no active bomb. They also said that the scene is now considered safe. Reporting live from Washington, I'm Kristen Casper, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you very much for that report. We'll look for an update on later editions of HNN.
That's right. Now to the pandemic. The state is reporting 752 new COVID cases today and 4 more deaths. The latest fatalities are an Oahu man and woman, both in their 80s, an Oahu woman in her 60s, and a Kauai man in his 60s. That death was reported earlier by Kauai County. Now, the breakdown of cases by island shows the Big Island with 163 cases, Kauai 25, Lanai 1, 125 cases on Maui, 4 on Molokai, Oahu 426, out of state 8. Now 16 more people are hospitalized with COVID, bringing the total number of hospitalizations to 35. About 90% of patients are unvaccinated.
All right, and we have an update regarding the Ironman, right?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's been rescheduled, we're being told, by Big Island. And we've been posting these details for a while now on your HNN digital platforms.
Yes, that's right. So it's supposed to happen October 9th, but has been rescheduled to February 5th of next year. So there will be 2 championship competitions in 2022. Organizers say the decision was made due to the recent surge caused by the Delta variant, plus travel restrictions and closed borders. They say Ironman athletes who were registered for the October race will be contacted directly.
In today's Talker story, a judge has found no probable cause to send 3 HPT officers to trial for the shooting death of I Remember SciCap. Lynn Kawano has been following this story for months. Lynn, what happened yesterday that led to the judge's decision to?
Yesterday was day 5. We had 5 half days of testimony in the preliminary hearing. So more evidence was presented, but really it was a backtracking. So going over some of the body camera videos and evidence that was presented over the past 4 days. It really, these 4 days, those stretched over several weeks, right? There were a lot of breaks in between. They also had their last witness. So that's the 15th witness who was called to the stand. So that witness finished up, and then they had closing arguments. Basically, the prosecutor got more time because there were 3 defense attorneys. So the judge allowed them to say the prosecutor could have a little bit more time to make up for the fact that there were 3 attorneys on the defense side. After that, the judge took a break, and within a few minutes, he rendered his decision.
And we've been seeing a lot of emotion outside that courtroom. What was the officers' reaction yesterday, and what's the community's reaction been?
The officers were obviously very happy with the decision. The attorneys did say there's no winners here in the case, right? There's still a 16-year-old who was dead. The officers still had to face all of this, but they were very relieved. It was obvious. They hugged their attorneys inside the courtroom. Obviously, they were relieved. There were cheers of joy outside the courtroom as word spread about the judge's decision. Very few protesters yesterday in comparison to some of the previous days of the preliminary hearing. Very few PSYCAP members as well, family members. Not as many, certainly, as in the first few days of the preliminary hearing.
And I know you've talked to so many legal experts and analysts about this story, many saying that prosecutors are going to have a tough time with this case because a grand jury dismissed it way back a couple months ago, right? So what are they saying now?
Yeah, the fact that Steve the prosecuting attorney, went forward with a complaint, a district court complaint, after a grand jury declined charges or declined to indict the officers, raised eyebrows among the legal community. So what they're saying now is, he had now a grand jury decline to indict, and now he's had a judge decline probable cause, so it's not going to move this case forward. It's both ends of the spectrum, right? A grand jury is of your peers, a judge is a deciding factor there. So Steve really has to sit and reflect and decide what he's going to do next. There is still the option of him appealing this ruling. He could also go to another grand jury panel and try again to get an indictment. But certainly the legal community would be surprised if he would take any of those options. And we won't know until Monday. His office sent us a press release yesterday saying they're not going to make any statements until Monday. Yesterday was Wednesday. Making us wait 5 days is kind of eye-opening in and of itself.
All right, Lynn Kawano, keep up the good reporting. Let's toss it back over to Ashley with more news.
Linda is now a tropical storm as it heads toward the islands, and as Billy V tells us, the storm could bring heavy rains into the weekend.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and give you that update on Tropical Storm Linda. Now, in the last 12 hours, it was downgraded to tropical storm status from a Category 1 hurricane. And you can also see here, it's lost kind of its eye. It's kind of collapsing on itself. It's losing energy. It's moving towards the Hawaiian Islands. So let's give you the numbers right now. Winds are 70 miles per hour with gusts up to 85 miles per hour. And it's moving in a westerly direction at 16 miles per hour. So as we take a look at the forecast track, we can see that as we get to Saturday, Sunday, especially Sunday and Monday, that it gets close to the Hawaiian Islands. And then, of course, Sunday into Monday is when that track actually comes closest to Oahu and Kauai. So what does this tell us? According to the National Weather Service, the storm itself, the most powerful is the one that's up to the north, that side, which means that down on the southern side of the storm, as it approaches our islands, the winds are weak, which means that it's not really going to push the rains away from the islands when they start to come down heavy. So there's the potential for flash flooding, heavy rain showers. This is Sunday into Monday when the hurricane is closest to the Hawaiian Islands. And of course, you see that cone of uncertainty. It could go anywhere in any direction. We're watching it carefully here on your severe weather station. Your forecast is coming up in just a couple of moments right here on Hawaii News Now. Back to you.
Honolulu police say it's a tool to build a safer community, but a criminologist is calling the department's crime mapping website misleading. Investigative reporter Allison Blair dug into the data and discovered the most important feature of the maps, where crime is happening, is often wrong.
The 1300 block of Punch Bowl Street. It's an address linked to 7 robberies between January and July, according to HPD's crime mapping website.
It's a busy place, so I would think it'd be well guarded, well protected.
But a look at the police reports tells a much different story. Turns out just one of those robberies actually happened there. The other 6 were reported at Queens Hospital, but occurred somewhere else.
We're told this is going to help us build a safer neighborhood. And then we discover that their definition of neighborhood is methodologically flawed.
What HPD posts is the time and location of where the report was made. That means the mark on the map doesn't always represent where the crime actually happened, or even when it happened. There is a line on the site acknowledging some of what's posted is wrong. The criminologist says it's a problem that needs to be fixed.
That's what mapping is all about, is location. That's why these distortions are so problematic, because you're not getting an accurate picture of where crimes are occurring.
The head of the Waikiki Neighborhood Board agrees, saying it would be better to know exactly when and where illegal activity is happening.
Partially to know what to look out for. Partially to know what to report to the police.
Hundreds of crimes are listed on the map, too many for us to cross-check them all, so we chose a sample. We analyzed robberies in District 2, that includes the Wahiawa area, over a 6-month period, and found only the ones in green actually happened when and where they're marked on the map. The red markers had inaccuracies. This robbery shows up in an apartment complex on Weak House Street, but police records reveal it actually happened while the victim was walking down the street more than 1.5 miles away. This robbery was listed at the correct location, but because it was reported several days later, the date and time are wrong. It actually happened on January 23rd at 7 p.m. We also confirmed 2 more robberies happened here, but aren't marked on the map. It's unclear why those crimes are missing.
It's the sort of thing that really should be fixed because it misleads people.
Too little information is also leaving folks with the wrong impression. During that same 6-month period, the 1400 block of Ala Moana Boulevard, home to Ala Moana Shopping Center, is listed as having 11 robberies, the most at any one location on the island.
The first thing that comes to mind is like someone snatching a purse.
Mugging, basically.
Understandable impressions, but wrong. Of the 11 robberies, 1 happened somewhere else, and HPD confirms 8 of them were actually shoplifting cases where the suspect used physical force or a weapon when confronted by employees.
It's surprising.
Despite repeated requests, HPD wouldn't do an interview with us for this story. A spokesperson said in a statement, the crime mapping feature contains timely, basic information on most crimes and is popular with the public. While the technology isn't perfect, it does show where the incident was reported from and in most cases, where the incident occurred.
We need to clean up the data. I don't think most people are interested in the reporting of crimes. They're interested in where crimes occurred.
HPD says at this time the department has no plans to make any changes to its crime maps. In Honolulu, Allison Blair, Hawaii News Now.
Developing news now, the State Department says it's issuing visas for thousands of people trying to flee Afghanistan and get past those Taliban checkpoints. Roxana Sabiri joins us with the very latest.
Chaos continues to dominate today outside Kabul's airport, as Afghans try desperately to flee their country. They first have to get through checkpoint after checkpoint, manned by Taliban fighters, some firing shots and beating people back. Then they face U.S. troops and barbed wire. For now, the runways are clear of civilians, and military transport planes have airlifted out around 5,000 people, mostly U.S. citizens and Afghans who once worked for the U.S. But with around 60 to 80,000 left, by President Biden's count, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin acknowledged evacuations aren't moving fast enough.
It's obvious we're not close to where we want to be in terms of getting the numbers through.
The military flights are first come, first serve.
Afghan-American Zohal Abdulrahman says her brother-in-law, who just got a U.S. visa, was heading to Kabul airport today when she lost contact.
We're really anxious to get him out of there as soon as we possibly can.
President Biden told ABC News all this chaos was not the result of bad planning.
But the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happened.
So for you, that was always priced into the decision?
Yes.
I think they should have moved fast enough to begin with, right when President Biden announced that the U.S. was leaving.
The U.S. will soon have 6,000 combat troops on the ground to help with evacuations, but they're needed to defend the airport and keep it running, not to pick up stranded Americans or vulnerable Afghans.
When are you going to sleep soundly again?
Till the Taliban are out of Afghanistan for good, forever. And God knows when that's going to be.
CBS News has learned the U.S. mission in Kabul is getting reports that the Taliban are blocking some Afghans with U.S. visas from getting to the airport. And the U.S. plans to open an additional gate there to get more eligible evacuees in faster. Roxana Saberi, CBS News, Doha.
The 20-year war in Afghanistan has cost the U.S. about $2 trillion, but it's the human toll that's irreplaceable. Nearly 2,500 American troops have died there, including a dozen Hawaii residents. Ben Gutierrez has more.
First Lieutenant Jonathan Brostrom of IAEA was killed in an enemy attack during the Battle of Wanat in 2008. His father believes that soldiers like his son didn't get enough support from the U.S. government, stretching through 4 presidential administrations.
Where we just thought we could beat the Taliban with small numbers of soldiers and lack of resources, and it didn't happen.
David Brostrom is remembering his son Jonathan, who followed in his footsteps by joining the military.
He was very proud to be serving his country and loved the Army.
Jonathan Brostrom graduated from Damien Memorial School in 2002 and was in the ROTC at UH. He was just 24 years old when he and 8 other soldiers were killed after their outpost was attacked.
These are all the soldiers that were killed with him, and the names.
David Brostrom's home is filled with memories of Jonathan. There's a painting of him in Afghanistan, along with a photo just before he left for deployment. Brostrom is watching with disappointment at the American troop withdrawal and the return of the Taliban.
Because my son died there, because we made that sacrifice, it was just heartbreaking. But it's also very embarrassing for the U.S. for this to happen.
Brostrom says American troops should have stayed longer to build a democracy in that country, but the drawdown of troops sent a different message.
We were always trying to get out, and we always sent that message to the Taliban, which emboldened them, because they knew we were leaving.
Brostrom is still proud of his son's sacrifice.
My son didn't die trying to defend an Afghan government. Yeah, that was a bigger mission, but he wasn't thinking of that when he was attacked. He was trying to save his soldiers.
But how the war is ending is leaving a bitter taste.
You know, for all the other Gold Star families, I know this is very heartbreaking, and to include the veterans and the wounded warriors, because they gave so much to trying to help Afghanistan.
David Brostrom remains concerned for Americans who are still in Afghanistan, including the troops who remain trying to defend the airport in Kabul. Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Ben, for that report. All right, guys, we want to switch gears here just a little bit. Take you live outside where it is 82 degrees in downtown. Billy V has a check of the rest of your forecast. Let's check back in with him.
All right, thank you very much. Let's give you your forecast for the rest of your weather. First of all, the high surf advisory has been deleted from the forecast. That's because the waves are down here on the south-facing shorelines below 10 feet, that there's still 6 to 8 that's still overhead sets. So it's on the way down, but use some caution if you're going to be on the south-facing shores. If you're visiting, check with the lifeguards before you go out into the water. Our ocean safety has just been overwhelmed with the amount of rescues in the last couple of days. 4 to 6 feet energy here. That's on the way up on the east-facing shore. That is energy from Tropical Storm Linda, and small craft advisories are in effect for portions of Hawaiian waters due to strong gusty trade winds. So here's the forecast for you today. Trade winds are here. Easterly 5 to 15 miles per hour to start, but by the end of today, they'll be 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tomorrow, 15 to 20 miles per hour, partly cloudy skies, some windward and Mauka showers drifting leeward at times. Saturday, a transitional day. Sunday and Monday is when we'll start to see those effects from Tropical Storm Linda. And once again, caution, they could be heavy showers and possible flash flooding Sunday and Monday. Behind Linda, trade wind weather. It's going to be nice once Linda leaves the Hawaiian Islands area. As always, get the latest on air, online, on your mobile device, and at hawaiinewsnow.com.
An update on an important ag crop here in Hawaii. Hundreds of millions of cups of coffee are poured in the U.S. every day, but the popular beverage is getting more expensive. Michael George tells us why.
Sweetwater's Coffee and Tea is a growing national chain that's managed to survive during the pandemic.
We have seen many more gas come out, certainly since the past year.
But CEO Lisa B says the company now faces another challenge, the high cost of coffee beans. Drought and frost damaged crops in Brazil, the world's largest coffee exporter. Those shortages, along with shipping slowdowns, are making beans more expensive. The International Coffee Organization says the overall benchmark price is up 43% since last year. Now consumers are paying more, from the corner cafe to the grocery store. Sweetwater's is also charging more.
We know Americans love their coffee. How have they reacted to the price increases?
Customers have been very understanding, and we have actually only taken about a 5% price increase.
The NPD group says on average, Americans are spending about 10 cents more for a cup of coffee now compared to last summer. Larger companies have been able to withstand the growing expense for beans, but it's harder for small businesses. Brian Jocelyn owns Mountain Phoenix Coffee in Salida, Colorado, and buys around 3,000 pounds of beans every month.
An average right now is we're paying roughly 30% more. We're talking around $2,000 net profit per month that we're losing.
Jocelyn doesn't want to charge his customers more, but he isn't sure how long he can sustain these losses, especially if bean prices continue to climb. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Let's take a check of cyberspace. Yep. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about right there. Ashley, check this out. And it looks like a little version of SimCity or something. But this is actually something that's coming about because millions of Americans continue to work from home. So Facebook is giving a remote work, a little virtual spin to help colleagues feel more like they're at the office for those who are still working from home. So check this out. The app is called Horizon Workrooms. It allows coworkers to design avatars in virtual conference rooms to interact while wearing a VR headset. I don't know if I would be about this or not, but it does look cute.
It's cute, but it doesn't seem very,
why? It's sort of like SimCity for work or something. I don't know how to describe it really, but it does look cute. And my avatar, I worked really hard on it, so I would like to see it roam around the newsroom a little bit sometime.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, what'd you find?
So alcohol hasn't been available in the main cabins on American airline flights since at least earlier this summer, and it looks like it won't be an option anytime soon. The airline says the suspension is part of an effort to cut down on unruly and violent passengers. Now, main cabin alcohol service at American was set to restart on September 13th when the transportation mask mandate was originally set to expire, but that mandate has been extended to January of next year, so the airline is extending the alcohol suspension to match that date. The FAA has received upwards of 3,800 unruly passenger reports so far this year. There were more than 2,800 mask-related incidents reported as well. Be nice to your flight attendants, guys.
Yeah, definitely. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this almost Friday. That's tomorrow. And that's where we'll be. See us here on Aloha Friday at noon. Bye, guys.